I want to tell you Carmen's story. She is 76 years old and has always been an active woman with a remarkable memory. She remembered phone numbers from decades ago, the birthdays of all her grandchildren, and even her mother's recipes without looking at a notebook. But recently, something began to change. At first, they were small lapses. One day she couldn't remember where she had left her glasses. Another day, she mixed up the name of her lifelong neighbor. Later, she found it hard to follow long conversations. Carmen grew worried, but she didn't understand why. Her doctor confirmed she had no serious illness, no circulation problems, and no after effects from an accident. So why did her mind seem to dim so quickly? The most surprising thing was discovering that the culprit was on her plate, every single day. A food so common that almost all of us have it in the pantry. A food we believed was harmless, even healthy in small amounts, but that according to new medical studies can accelerate brain aging and cause premature mental decline. And the worst part is that it's not something rare or hard to find. It's present at breakfast, in fast food, at snack time, and even in some light products marketed as healthy. Millions of people consume it without thinking, unaware that with each bite they are shortening their mind's reaction time, reducing memory, and impairing their ability to concentrate. In this video, I'm going to reveal what that food is, how it silently acts in your body, what signs you should watch for if you consume it often, and, most importantly, what alternatives you can choose to protect your brain health and keep your mind clear, agile, and youthful for many more years. What you'll learn today is neither a fad nor a passing trick. It's information backed by serious studies and by physicians who have seen firsthand how small dietary changes transform their patients' lives. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. How old are you, and where are you watching me from? Write it in the comments. I'd love to know. How brain aging works. Aging is a natural process that happens throughout our body, and the brain is no exception. From the moment we are born, our neurons work tirelessly, sending millions of electrical signals every second, connecting memories, emotions, and actions. But as the years pass, the perfect machinery that is our brain begins to show subtle signs of wear. One of the most common changes is a decrease in processing speed. What we once understood or remembered in an instant may now take a few more seconds. It's not that the ability is lost, it's that the path traveled by those electrical signals becomes a little slower. Short-term memory can also be affected, the kind we use to remember where we left the keys, what we were going to buy, or what page of the book we were on. It's normal for it to be a bit harder to retain new information, although long-term memory, childhood memories or important experiences, usually remains more stable. Another natural change involves neural plasticity, the brain's ability to create new connections and adapt to experiences or learning. As we age, this plasticity decreases, which means learning something new may require more time and effort. It's not impossible, just more challenging. These are normal changes, part of what's considered healthy brain aging. They don't represent a disease, nor do they mean we are losing our lucidity. However, there is another scenario: accelerated brain aging. In this case, changes that would normally appear after many years show up early and progress more quickly. When aging is accelerated, difficulties with concentration, forgetfulness, and loss of mental agility appear earlier and more intensely. This can be due to illnesses, but also to factors within our control: lack of physical activity, chronic stress, poor sleep quality, and something many underestimate: diet. Yes, what you eat can influence your brain's health as much as your heart's. There are nutrients that strengthen it, enhance its performance, and protect it from decline. But there are also foods that, when consumed frequently, act like a slow poison. They are invisible accelerants that wear down brain cells without you noticing, until one day you realize your memory and concentration are no longer the same. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about one of those foods. An ingredient so common you probably have it at home right now. And although it may seem harmless, science has shown it can be a silent enemy to your mind. The surprise from medical research. Some years ago, a group of researchers at a renowned university set out to study how diet influences brain aging. They wanted to go beyond the usual advice about eating fruits and vegetables and focused on discovering whether there was any food, considered innocent, that might be harming the mind without people realizing it. The study began with more than 2,000 volunteers over 60 years old. They all had something in common. They didn't suffer from serious illnesses, but some were beginning to notice memory problems, difficulty concentrating, or mental sluggishness. For several months, the scientists analyzed their habits, their health, and above all, their daily diet. That's when a pattern emerged. Among participants with poorer cognitive performance, there was a much higher consumption of a very common food, cheap and easy to find in any supermarket. Curiously, for years this product had been promoted as safe and even recommended in some diets. The unsettling part was that it wasn't a rare or hard to recognize product. It's something that can be eaten on its own or as part of other preparations. It can taste sweet or savory depending on how it's processed. Its texture can be soft and pleasant or crispy and tempting. It's eaten at breakfast, lunch, snack time, and dinner. And no matter what country you live in, it's likely part of your food culture. The researchers discovered that this food contained certain compounds that, upon reaching the brain, triggered inflammation and damaged communication between neurons. Over time, that damage translated into memory loss, slower thinking, and reduced ability to concentrate. The effect wasn't immediate, but it was constant, like a drop falling on stone, wearing it away, little by little. One case that drew attention was that of Anthony, a 72-year-old man who participated in the study. Anthony ate this food every day, sometimes in small amounts, other times in more generous portions. He didn't think much of it, because he had done it all his life. However, in recent years he began forgetting appointments, losing the thread of conversations, and feeling mentally exhausted. When the doctors recommended eliminating it from his diet, Anthony was skeptical, but he accepted the challenge and replaced it with healthier options. In less than 3 months, he noticed changes. He felt more alert in the mornings, could follow long conversations without getting lost, and more easily remembered what he had done the day before. He didn't regain the mental agility of his youth, but he did gain clarity and confidence. Stories like Anthony's were repeated among several participants. Not everyone improved in the same way, but the results were clear. Cutting out this food slowed cognitive decline and helped keep the brain in better condition for longer. I'm not going to tell you what the food is just yet. First, I want you to understand exactly what it is and why, for so long, it has gone unnoticed as a possible enemy of our mental health. The food revealed. It's time to say it. The food doctors have identified as a silent accelerator of brain aging is white bread and products made with refined flours. For decades, white bread has been present at nearly every table. We've associated it with family breakfasts, quick snacks, or school lunches. In many homes, it's a symbol of simplicity and tradition. Even in lean times, it was considered a staple that provided energy and satisfied hunger. It seemed harmless. But current science shows us another side of the story. The problem lies in how it's produced. Refined flour is obtained by removing the bran and germ from the grain, precisely the parts richest in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. What remains is basically pure starch. Once in our body, this starch quickly turns into glucose, causing spikes in blood sugar. When these spikes repeat day after day, they generate chronic inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. And the brain, an especially sensitive organ, suffers the consequences. Excess glucose damages the blood vessels that nourish it, reduces oxygen flow, and impairs communication between neurons. In addition, refined flours often come with additives, excess salt, and in many commercial products, trans fats to improve texture or shelf life. The combination of simple sugars, unhealthy fats, and additives creates a perfect environment to accelerate cognitive decline. Recent studies show that people with high, consistent consumption of white bread, industrial pastries, cookies, or refined pastas are at greater risk of memory loss and reduced mental agility at earlier ages. If we compare current consumption with that of several decades ago, The difference is alarming. In the past, bread was made with less processed flours, without so many additives, and in many cases, it was slowly fermented, which improved digestibility and reduced its impact on glucose. Today, industrial production has shortened those times, increased the amount of artificial ingredients, and turned white bread and its derivatives into a cheaper, faster-to-make product, and much more harmful to health. The most worrying part is that we're not only talking about bread itself. Refined flours are present in many forms: breakfast cereals, snacks, pizzas, empanadas, and fake whole grain products that are actually refined with a bit of bran added. Without realizing it, we may be consuming this type of flour several times a day, every day of the year. The result is a silent wear and tear that, over time, can make our brain age faster than it should. And although the damage isn't immediately noticeable, it does accumulate, affecting our mental clarity and increasing the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. In the next section, I'll explain how this food, which seems so simple, affects your brain each day you consume it, and why the effects can be felt even hours after eating it. How it affects your brain day by day. Every time you eat white bread or products made with refined flours, your body starts a silent process that, over time, can take a toll. The starch in refined flour quickly transforms into glucose. This causes a sudden rise in blood sugar and forces your pancreas to release a large amount of insulin to control it. The problem is that these spikes and dips in glucose affect not only your physical energy, but also your brain. A constant excess flow of sugar causes inflammation in the brain's blood vessels, making it harder for enough oxygen and nutrients to reach the neurons. Without that steady, balanced supply, nerve cells begin to function more slowly. At the same time, oxidative stress is generated, an imbalance that damages neuronal membranes and internal structures. This oxidative stress is like rust in machinery. Little by little, it prevents the parts from working with their former precision. In addition, chronic inflammation alters the production of neurotransmitters, the chemical substances that allow neurons to communicate with one another. Over time, this cluster of damage reduces brain plasticity, making learning and adapting to new situations more difficult. Instead of staying agile and flexible, the brain becomes stiffer and slower. The first symptoms can be subtle and easy to ignore. You begin to have frequent lapses, like not remembering where you left your phone or what you were going to say halfway through a conversation. Difficulty concentrating may appear. You struggle to keep reading a book, pay attention during a talk, or finish a task without getting distracted. You may even notice inexplicable mood changes, irritability, sudden sadness, or a sense of apathy you didn't have before. Imagine Joseph's routine, a 68-year-old man. He has toasted white bread with jam for breakfast. Mid-morning, he eats some cookies. At lunch, he accompanies his meal with bread, and in the afternoon, he has a sweet roll or a slice of cake. None of these choices seem serious in a single day. But if this habit repeats for months and years, his brain lives in a constant state of inflammation and wear. When Joseph starts forgetting important dates or feels mentally spent after simple activities, he doesn't suspect that part of the problem lies in what he's eaten all his life. This is the great risk. The effects aren't immediate or dramatic at first. The deterioration is slow, almost invisible, until one day you realize your mental agility is no longer the same. Factors that worsen the damage. The impact of white bread and refined flours on brain health does not occur in isolation. It becomes much more harmful when combined with other damaging habits that, unfortunately, are very common in adult life, and especially in the senior years. One of the most dangerous is a sedentary lifestyle. Movement not only strengthens muscles and bones, it also keeps the brain active. Regular exercise improves blood circulation, increases oxygenation, and stimulates the production of new neural connections. If you add a low-activity life to a diet rich in refined flours, blood flow to the brain is doubly compromised, accelerating decline. Another factor is the lack of quality sleep. During nighttime rest, the brain performs essential cleaning tasks, removing toxins and waste that accumulate throughout the day. Sleeping too little or with frequent interruptions prevents this process from finishing, leaving the brain in a state of accumulated stress. If the body also has to deal with the glucose spikes caused by refined flours, the damage multiplies. Chronic stress also plays a crucial role. When we live in a constant state of tension, the body releases hormones like cortisol, which in excess damage brain cells and reduce memory and learning capacity. Consuming white bread and refined products while living under chronic stress is like adding fuel to a fire that's already burning. Various studies have shown that in people over 60 years old, the combination of a diet high in refined flours with a sedentary lifestyle, poor sleep quality, and chronic stress can multiply the risk of cognitive decline by 3 within a few years. The brain's natural aging accelerates, and problems that would normally appear after 80 can manifest before 70. An inspiring example is Carmen, a 71-year-old woman who had always considered her diet normal. White bread at breakfast, cookies mid-morning, refined pasta several times a week, and the occasional sweets. She also led a fairly sedentary life and slept poorly at night. Over time, she began to notice forgetfulness, difficulty following conversations, and a mental fatigue she hadn't felt before. After a medical checkup and a nutritionist's recommendation, Carmen cut refined flours almost completely, replacing them with genuine whole-grain sourdough bread, oats, and legumes. She also began walking 30 minutes a day and set a more regular sleep routine. In just 6 weeks, she felt more alert, more focused, and in a better mood. It wasn't magic, but the result of reduced inflammation and improved blood flow to her brain. This shows that although damage can accumulate over years, there is always room to improve. And that room begins with simple but consistent decisions. Healthy alternatives. Eliminating white bread and refined flours doesn't mean giving up the pleasure of eating well. On the contrary, it's an opportunity to discover foods that not only satisfy, but nourish and protect the brain over the long term. The key is choosing options rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, and vitamins essential for neural health. Antioxidants, present in fruits like blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, and black grapes, help combat the oxidative stress that damages neurons. Healthy fats, such as those found in extra virgin olive oil, avocado, and nuts, improve communication between brain cells and protect neuronal membranes. B-group vitamins, especially B6, B9, and B12, are fundamental for producing neurotransmitters and preventing the brain shrinkage that can occur with age. Incorporating these options day to day doesn't have to be complicated. A nutritious breakfast can include genuine whole-grain sourdough bread with avocado and chia seeds, accompanied by a handful of fresh blueberries. Mid-morning, some walnuts and green tea can replace industrial cookies. For lunch, whole grain or legume-based pasta with steamed vegetables and olive oil provides fiber, plant protein, and brain-protective fats. And for dinner, a salad with leafy greens, grilled salmon, and a lemon and olive oil dressing can end the day light, yet nourishing. Certain nutrients play a special role in regenerating neural connections. Omega-3, present in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel, supports neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and create new connections. Magnesium, found in pumpkin seeds, almonds, and spinach, helps improve memory and concentration. And polyphenols, present in pure cocoa and green tea, reduce brain inflammation and improve circulation. A real-life example is Lewis, a 69-year-old man who decided to make changes after noticing it was hard to remember names and dates. Lewis replaced white bread with genuine whole-grain bread and oats, added oily fish twice a week, and started adding berries to his breakfast. In just 2 months, he felt his mind was more agile. He enjoyed reading again without losing the thread, remembered more details in conversations, and felt more mental energy to solve everyday problems. The most interesting part is that Lewis didn't make extreme or complicated changes. He simply replaced a harmful habit with alternatives that fed his brain. That's the essence of healthy aging. It's not about living under constant restriction, but about making choices that day by day build a future with greater mental clarity and vitality. 7-day action plan. Changing a lifelong habit doesn't happen overnight, nor does it have to happen abruptly. The key is to move forward little by little so your body and mind adapt without feeling deprived. This 7-day plan is designed to help you reduce and ultimately eliminate white bread and refined flours from your diet, replacing them with choices that nourish your brain. Day 1. Observe and note. During the first day, don't change anything. Simply record everything you eat and when refined flours appear. Also note how you feel before and after eating. This observation is essential for recognizing patterns and critical points. Day 2. Breakfast swap. Replace morning white bread or cookies with genuine whole-grain sourdough bread, oats, or fruit with plain yogurt. Breakfast is an ideal starting point because it lets you begin the day with clean energy and without sugar spikes. Day 3. Label reading. Dedicate this day to reviewing your pantry and refrigerator. Learn to identify terms on labels like refined wheat flour or enriched flour. Many products that look whole grain are not. If the first ingredient isn't whole wheat flour or similar, it's probably refined. Day 4. More mindful lunch. Swap refined pasta or white bread at lunch for whole grain pasta, quinoa, brown rice, or legumes. Pair with vegetables and healthy proteins. This will reduce the load of simple carbohydrates and keep your mental energy steady. Day 5. Craving management. It's normal to crave white bread or refined sweets. To control them, always have quick alternatives on hand. Nuts, fresh fruit, carrot sticks, or hummus. Staying hydrated also helps, because we often confuse thirst with hunger. Day 6. Light, nourishing dinner. Replace any refined flour at dinner with lighter, more complete options. Salads with protein, vegetable soups, or spinach omelets. A balanced dinner supports rest and brain regeneration overnight. Day 7. Involve your family. Talk with your loved ones about why you're making this change. Cooking together, trying new recipes, and sharing the experience will make the process more enjoyable and lasting. Your example can also inspire them to care for their brain health. At the end of these 7 days, you will have significantly reduced your intake of refined flours and discovered delicious alternatives. It's not about perfection, but about steadily moving toward a way of eating that protects your mind and memory. Signs of improvement when you cut it out. When you stop consuming white bread and refined flours, your body and brain begin a recovery process that, though quiet, can be noticed sooner than you might imagine. It's not a miraculous cure. It's removing an obstacle that was slowly harming your mental and physical health. One of the first improvements usually appears in mental clarity. By stabilizing blood sugar levels, the brain receives a more constant flow of energy, which translates into greater capacity to concentrate and less brain fog. This can be noticed in as little as 1 or 2 weeks. Activities like reading, solving crosswords, or holding a conversation feel more fluid, as if you had lifted an invisible weight from your head. Short-term memory can also show progress. Small details, like remembering where you left your keys or what you were going to say, begin to improve. You won't suddenly regain the memory of youth, but you will notice fewer annoying lapses and more agility in retaining recent information. In general, this change becomes more evident after the first month. Mood is another aspect that benefits. Sharp ups and downs in blood sugar affect the production of neurotransmitters related to happiness and calm. When you eliminate them, emotions stabilize, irritability and mental fatigue decrease, and a steadier sense of well-being appears. Many people say they feel lighter emotionally and more patient throughout the day. Physically, improvements are also noticeable and indirectly support brain health, better sleep quality, more energy to move, and lighter digestion. Sleeping well and staying active are 2 fundamental pillars for keeping the brain young. The time it takes to notice these changes varies from person to person. Factors like age, overall health, level of physical activity, and the quality of the rest of the diet influence the speed of improvement. However, in most cases, the first signs appear within the first month, and the benefits build over the following months if the new habit is maintained. It's important to remember that eliminating refined flours won't solve every brain health issue. There isn't a single food or habit capable of completely stopping aging, but it is a key step. because it reduces one of the most common sources of inflammation and neuronal wear in daily life. Think of this change as removing stones from the path. The brain still has to move forward, but it will do so with fewer obstacles and greater ease. And the best part is that each day you choose to care for your diet is a day you add to your mental clarity and quality of life. Throughout this video, we've followed a path that began with a simple question: can a food that seems harmless be damaging our brain? The answer, as we've seen, is a resounding yes. White bread and refined flours, so present on the daily table, are more than a simple source of energy. They can become a silent enemy that accelerates brain aging. We've understood how the brain's natural decline works and what speeds it up, explored the medical research that revealed this connection, identified the food, explained its day-to-day impact, and reviewed the factors that worsen its damage. We've also seen that not everything is negative. There are delicious, nutritious alternatives, a clear action plan, and signs of improvement that can be noticed within a few weeks. The most important lesson to take with us is that what we eat is one of the most powerful tools we have against brain aging. It's not about living in fear of foods, but about making informed decisions that add years of mental clarity and quality of life. The brain, just like the rest of the body, responds to our habits. Every choice counts. Eliminating this food from your diet is not a sacrifice, but an investment in your memory, your concentration, your mood, and your independence as the years go by. Because keeping a healthy brain doesn't just mean remembering more, it also means living better. Now, I invite you to take the first step. Look at your diet, identify where this food appears, and put the strategies we've shared into action. If this video has helped you understand something new, share it with your friends and family. It could be the beginning of an important change for them as well. Always remember, your mind reflects what you feed it each day. Protect it, because it's your greatest treasure. See you in the next video.